Most people know they should budget. It's a basic financial principle often mentioned in advice columns, school textbooks, and personal finance blogs. And yet, statistics consistently show that the vast majority of individuals do not follow a budget. According to a study by U.S. Bank, only about 41% of Americans use a budget to track their spending. That means nearly 60% are navigating their financial lives without any structured plan. And even among those who claim to budget, many rely on rough estimates, guesswork, or fragmented spreadsheets that fail to deliver real insight. The reality is that budgeting is often perceived as tedious, restrictive, or unnecessary. But this perception misses a critical truth. Budgeting is not about limiting freedom. It's about creating clarity. And more importantly, it's about building systems that make better financial behavior automatic. There is, in fact, a budgeting method so effective, so logically sound, that it can radically transform the way money is managed. It's not complicated. It doesn't require apps, spreadsheets, or complex math. And yet, 99% of people don't use it not because they don't know about it, but because they are unwilling to follow through with the discipline it requires. This is the concept of zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting, or ZBB, is a method where every dollar of income is assigned a specific purpose, and the budget is zeroed out each month. In other words, your income minus your expenses equals zero. Not because you're spending everything, but because every dollar has a job, whether that job is to cover rent, go into savings, pay off debt, or be set aside for a future investment. At first glance, this might sound no different from any typical budget. But the difference lies in the mindset. Most people budget loosely. They estimate monthly spending and hope that whatever is left over will go into savings. But hoping is not planning. And financial hope, without structure, almost always leads to waste. Zero-based budgeting forces a person to be intentional. If you earn $3,000 a month, then your entire $3,000 must be accounted for. $1,200 for rent, $300 for groceries, $200 for transportation, $150 for insurance, $100 for entertainment, and so on until every dollar is allocated. Importantly, that includes non-spending categories, like saving for emergencies or contributing to retirement. Even dollars put into investment accounts or used to pay down debt are assigned deliberately. By the end of the planning process, your income minus planned expenses equals exactly zero. There is no room for ambiguity. There is no extra money floating around waiting to be spent impulsively. So, why is this method so effective? Because it eliminates financial drift. Without a plan, money finds a way to disappear. Small, untracked purchases add up. Spontaneous spending quietly eats away at financial goals. But with zero-based budgeting, every financial decision is made in advance. This dramatically reduces impulse spending and increases accountability. Instead of reacting to money as it flows in, you control it before it even leaves your account. The structure also forces greater awareness. Budgeting to zero means forecasting not just regular bills, but irregular ones. Annual insurance premiums, quarterly tax payments, birthday gifts, vehicle maintenance. These often forgotten expenses become part of the plan, not financial surprises that derail the month. Another powerful aspect of zero-based budgeting is that it naturally encourages value-based spending. When every dollar must be assigned, priorities become clearer. What matters most? What provides the greatest return in satisfaction or security? When forced to make trade-offs, the difference between wants and needs becomes sharper. And over time, this discipline leads to better habits, smarter decisions, and faster progress toward financial goals. Still, this method is not popular, not because it doesn't work, but because it requires effort. It demands discipline and consistency. It's not glamorous. It doesn't offer instant gratification. But the returns over time are profound. Financial clarity, peace of mind, the ability to plan confidently for the future. In the broader context of personal finance, zero-based budgeting is not just a tool, it's a philosophy. It assumes that every dollar has potential. And when deployed with intention, money becomes a resource for progress, not a source of stress. Critics of zero-based budgeting often argue that it's too time-consuming, that life is unpredictable, that flexibility is necessary. These concerns are not without merit, but the solution is not to abandon structure entirely, it's to build adaptive structure. Zero-based budgeting can include categories like miscellaneous or buffer to account for the unknown. It doesn't require predicting the future perfectly. It just requires planning for it intentionally. Others claim that it's too restrictive, that they prefer to just live and not be obsessed with numbers. But this is a false dichotomy. The most financially free individuals are not those who ignore their finances. They're the ones who understand them intimately. Because when you know exactly where your money is going, you are free to make choices with confidence, not fear. There's another overlooked benefit to this method. It builds financial resilience. In times of crisis, job loss, medical emergencies, economic downturns, those with structured budgets adapt faster. They know their fixed costs. They understand their spending patterns. They can cut or shift expenses with clarity because they're not guessing, they're responding with data. And over the long term, this method amplifies the power of savings and investment. Most people treat saving as what's left over at the end of the month. But with zero-based budgeting, saving is a line item planned from the beginning. This small change can lead to dramatically higher savings rates over time. Financial progress is not built on luck or income alone. It's built on habits. And the habit of budgeting, real budgeting, not the mental checklist or occasional review, is one of the most powerful financial tools available. It's also a myth that zero-based budgeting is only for people with low or fixed incomes. In fact, the more money a person earns, the more important structured planning becomes. Higher income often brings higher expenses and greater complexity. Without a clear plan, even high earners fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation, spending more simply because they earn more. Zero-based budgeting prevents this by ensuring that every dollar, whether it's the first or the 10,000th, is used deliberately. The tools to implement this system are simple: a notebook, a spreadsheet, even a pen and paper. Digital apps can help, but they're not required. What's required is consistency and honesty. Look at the numbers. Assign the dollars. Review monthly. Adjust as needed. Those who stick with it often report the same results: greater control, less stress, faster debt reduction, and a clearer path toward long-term financial goals. These aren't abstract benefits, they're real outcomes driven by a practical, proven system. The real barrier is not knowledge. Most people intuitively understand the value of budgeting. The real barrier is behavior. It's easier to stay reactive, easier to ignore small leaks than to plug them. Easier to tell ourselves that tracking money is too hard, too boring, or unnecessary. But financial security doesn't come from ease. It comes from effort. The budgeting hack that 99% of people are too lazy to use is not a trick. It's not a loophole. It's a mindset shift. A move from passive to active, from chaos to clarity, from hoping to planning. Zero-based budgeting is not about perfection. It's about awareness, progress, intentionality. It's about taking the money already being earned and finally using it as a tool, not a trap. Most people won't do it, but those who do will see the difference, month by month, dollar by dollar. And that difference compounds not just financially, but mentally and emotionally. So the question isn't whether zero-based budgeting works. The evidence is clear. The question is, will it be used? Or will it remain another simple solution, ignored by the many, practiced by the few? The answer to that question, ultimately, is a choice. And that choice, like every dollar, should never go unaccounted for.